record.
Welcome to the Monthly Movie Dispatch, the movie review show from friends you can trust. Every week, we broadcast a review of a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking, critiquing, and gushing over movies since we were young, and we aim to bring you honest conversation on relevant cinema. I'm your host this week, Brandon Bulby, and I have with me Shaun Bulby and Everett. Hey, Shaun.
Hey there, Seattle.
Everett, Seattle. Why'd I say that? I thought you were Derek. Okay. So on this week's review, we switched it up and decided to review The Mitchells vs. the Machines, new film on Netflix. So stay tuned for that featured review. But first, let's go over some opening topics. What we wanted to talk about is another film review that Shaun and I just watched recently, almost the same night, maybe one night apart, called Supernova. This is a film that was kind of on my radar for a month or two. It got good reviews. It's kind of a heavy drama, but I really wanted to see it because Colin Firth is really handsome, and it's kind of a gay movie, and I don't know, just
Colin Firth
interest.
over Stanley Tucci, Brandon?
Yes. Okay. And a few of my friends have debated this a few times. I'm definitely on team Colin Firth.
All right.
But Stanley Tucci obviously is a beautiful man. I think you even see him shirtless more than Firth in this film, and he's obviously fit in his older age, so good on him. But enough about the looks of the main stars that drew me to this movie. Let's talk about, just do a quick of what we thought. Since this was going to be our pick, maybe I'll start there. Why did we kind of want to switch it up, Shaun? I mean, I can kind of answer it a little bit.
Yeah. Why don't you go?
Okay. So to me, that's why I wanted to make this my main review. However, right after seeing it, I felt like there just wasn't a half hour's worth of content in this movie to really dig too much into. Nothing in the movie, like, it wasn't bad. Like, actually, there's a lot of like great moments throughout the movie, but this kind of film, and like kind of it's how brief it is, how slow it is, and really with how little happens amongst this kind of drama, just didn't like lend itself to an in-depth critique, because I don't really necessarily know how much depth there was besides just learning a little bit about something.
Yeah. Totally agree. I was probably just going to go along with it and do the review with you and see what happens. But I agree. I was kind of thinking the same thing. I don't know. There's a whole lot to talk about, especially since the fact that the movie mostly isn't really about anything, and then it becomes about something towards the end. And if we talk about what the movie is about, it really does kind of spoil what because that doesn't really come up to the last like act of the film.
Yeah. And it's an interesting change. And yeah. I'm glad the script focused on something a little bit more unique when it finally gets that bigger plot point. But yeah, up until then, it's doesn't take place in many locations, doesn't have very many people, and there isn't much going on until that switch at the end.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I guess the thing that the movie is about, or at least on its surface, is it's about Alzheimer's and someone.
Say that, yeah.
It's about Stanley Tucci is going through the beginning stages of Alzheimer's and kind of starting to transition into it really affecting his life in a significant way.
Yeah, very early stages.
Yeah, and I guess that's all I'm going to say about the movie, and it's just kind of about them on a road trip, traveling around England, seeing family and being together. But I really did, I mean, not to compare it to The Father.
You just saw The Father.
But I just saw The Father, and I just kind of spilled my guts on this podcast about The Father, and I don't know if I have anything else to say about the subject other outside of that review of The Father. This movie definitely does touch on slightly different subject matter than The Father does, and it's less about that perspective of someone going through Alzheimer's, but
more about the communication surrounding the people and that it affects. And I don't know, we just need more communication in our lives. Don't hold it all in.
The movie,
but I guess you spilled your guts on the Father episode. I don't necessarily gonna do the same thing, but it did like make me like think of a different perspective on a lot of ways I hear people talk about film sometimes. Like and I've even heard Jeff Cannon on Slash Film talk about this. Like you always get those people who just like, I just don't want to watch a depressing movie. Like, why would I want to watch that? And I'm over here just like, you need to watch it because you need to learn. Like, you think it's hard watching a depressing movie about challenging subject matter. Try living through that like challenging subject matter. Like, you're lucky. Just those are like the thoughts that go through my head. It's like, you need to experience the empathy and stuff. But like when watching this movie and with going through what we went through, this last season with our grandma, it's like sometimes you don't need, you already know the empathy, you already know the perspective, and you don't necessarily need a reminder that night or that week or that year to like ruin your night or to make you like sick to your stomach again.
Wow, Brandon, so it's a big step for you.
So like, yeah, watching this movie and knowing, what we've already gone through, and it just made me realize like sometimes people just don't need to feel like, or a movie to make them feel like shit. They
don't need to see a dead baby on screen or
exactly.
Or
I mean,
dying
we've talked
kid.
about that on the podcast.
Yeah, that's probably
a dying kid being thrown up against a wall in the Nightingale, and to bring back like that stuff in your head. So I get it.
I will say, just to talk up The Father again, this movie really is it is a lot more just reveling in that sadness. It's just kind of it's sad and this is how it's sad. But I really do feel like The Father there's a lot more to The Father, and it really is. It makes you see that experience in a completely different light, and the way that it shows that experience directly through the perspective of the patient that is going through it is what is super unique, and I think is actually really important and really enlightening. Which is what
this
The Father
film
did so well. I don't know.
Supernova doesn't have really a unique perspective. The way it shows you the illness and what these characters are going through is kind of like the most straightforward way you could imagine like a movie about this being. It doesn't take like that extra time and effort to think about how it can present you this illness or ideas or putting any extra style into the film. It's a very flat, straightforward movie. I will also, it kind of loses some points for that.
Yeah, definitely. I will say there's some really cute moments, and there's some nice humor throughout that doesn't really make it feel like a total slog of a movie. Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci are just delightful to be around.
Really good together.
Really good together. So there's
little extra beats of character that are sparkled throughout, which I appreciated.
Yeah, definitely.
That you get a little more, like the stuff about the stars and the supernova and like their passions and interests, and like it really built up these more established people.
Definitely. But yeah, so watch it if you want. I'd recommend
if you don't
Father.
want to be too sad.
Yeah, watch this one if you don't want to be super sad. Watch Supernova if you don't want to be super sad. Watch The Father if you want a little more.
Yeah.
Or just watch both of them.
We probably have. This is the movie we're not supposed to be reviewing.
Mhm.
So let's move
we
on
didn't.
to
We're
the
not
main.
reviewing that movie. Okay.
We're not reviewing Supernova, though it seemed like we did have a decent amount to say after all. But let's move on to the movie we are reviewing, The Mitchells versus the Machines. This film was directed
On a
by,
different note.
yeah, Michael Rianda. Michael. Oh my God, why was my brain breaking?
Michael, or yeah.
Am I an idiot?
No,
Okay,
I
I'm an
don't. I
idiot.
actually don't know how Michelle, like the French Michelle, is spelled. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference probably.
Okay,
Michelle
let's move
Gellar.
on. Starring Danny McBride, Abby Jacobson, Maya Rudolph, and Mike Rianda. This plot description for this film is a quirky, dysfunctional family's road trip is upended when they find themselves in the middle of a robot apocalypse and suddenly become humanity's unluckiest last hope. So this film just came up on Netflix, which I thought was really convenient. And it's also produced by
Lord and Miller.
Lord and Miller,
As-
the infamous directors of Into the Spider-Verse and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and many other really clever comedies.
The
And
Lego
it's only
movies.
produced Lego movie. There we go.
Yep.
And it's only produced by them. It's not even directed or written by
Although,
them.
if I'm remembering correctly, maybe I'm just totally not. Wasn't Spider-Verse not directed by them, but directed by someone else? They more. Hang on.
You fact check that
Yeah.
while I continue on. So that's why I wanted to pick it, because they're incredible animated producers and or directors. With everything they touch turns to gold. These guys are God's gift to film and comedy right now. And this film, to me, absolutely proves it. I could not believe how clever, how well animated, how funny, and how much like depth and heart the movie has, even amongst its like cliche storyline. This film like floored me, and just like everything else they've ever like been a part of, this is no different and no less brilliant.
Definitely. And just to clarify, they did direct the Lego movie, but they produced and wrote Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
There's some hell of producers.
Yeah.
Like, how can you still instigate this much creativity onto a film that you're only producing?
Yeah.
They must just know how to pick the right people.
Yeah. And the director, let me go back. The director, Michael Rianda.
Okay.
He only has Gravity Falls as a directing credit, I believe. Yeah, that's his only thing, which is a what is it? A Disney Channel animated TV series that he did for like 3 years, or so. And
so they really dug this guy out of from nowhere, kind of.
Yeah, I have never seen or heard of Gravity Falls, but yeah, I don't know how you just make that leap so quickly. You must have done something really
what's
right.
your synopsis of your thoughts on how good or bad this film may be?
So this movie is absolutely delightful in every way. And yeah, I totally agree. Like they really do have a way of doing character and building a world and really creating such a unique style around a concept for a movie, clearly shown in, Lego movie and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Perhaps a little, less obvious in this movie, but this movie does some really unique and interesting things visually. It's like the way it brings in this super modern, I don't even know what you'd call it, like meme culture and GIF culture, It's
Which they were kind of already on top of with Lego Movie with like
yeah,
meme humor.
but
But like
less
this is
so
like visual
visually.
that
Yeah,
yeah, this
it's
is visually that.
all over this movie, and yeah, you could probably say it's that this movie is kind of a combination of the visuals of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and the Lego Movie kind of combined, and then like taken 10 steps further. But there's like
Mhm.
they're mixing like so first of all, just the visual style of this movie is really interesting. I don't even know
Just the
how to
style.
describe it. I
Yeah,
like
it's
just the
they place like
basic
these.
visual style of the characters and the world. I don't know how to describe it. Like look up some pictures. It's really interesting, and
It's the same conversation people had for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but it's nothing like that movie,
yeah,
but it's still like doesn't look like any animated film. They came
yeah,
up with a fully unique idea of how to show this movie to you.
yeah.
Still using CGI, obviously. Like there's a lot of like real textures and real images, but
Hmm.
like just things would be like actual images of things. Like I'm like they'd eat food and it would just be real food, like placed on like the animated like
Oh, I don't know if I noticed
polygons. Like
that.
there's a lot of crazy things all over the place that were like real.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so creative.
Yeah, totally. And like a lot of, rainbows just kind of like almost hand animated rainbows just kind of
I
appearing out
do
of
want to
nowhere and
talk.
hearts and things and it just all kinds of lightning bolts all over the place.
Let me
And then,
jump in
yeah,
right there.
yeah, go
Hold
ahead.
on, because that specifically, like I feel like they sat down in a room and they're like, we want to like present that like mid 2000s indie film aesthetic that was so prevalent, like around Juno time period, with
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
all
I can
that.
see that.
Except for we're going to place this into an animated film, which has
Mhm.
never been done before in like 2021,
Mhm.
and yeah, just like all those hand drawn lines and sketches. Like there was like a 8 year period where that was super like popular to do in
Yeah.
like indie films and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder,
Yeah.
like, what I took away from it is that was kind of this really hyper modern, like meme culture, like just putting all, um, you know,
Right. Yeah, with
images,
like the
like
monkey and like yeah,
yeah, um,
doesn't
y-
matter how it looks. We're just gonna like fucking
yeah,
throw it at your face right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's so detailed and so complex. It's something that I would probably like hearing it conceptually. I would probably think it's ridiculous and really I'd probably roll my eyes and think there's no way you could make that work, and that would just be so obnoxious in a movie. But they make it work so well and really make it a part of the story and the characters. And
Because it's
like
yeah, it's her art. It's
yeah,
like it's her ideas. Yeah.
in such a yeah, it's so clever. But that's just the visuals. The story, as you said, is a kind of a little bit of
It's a cliche.
Griswold family vacation type thing mixed with like just a normal family being thrown into an end of the world apocalypse. But it just does it so right in so many ways.
Mixed with the father daughter dynamic or
Yeah,
yeah, dynamic mixed with like having to like learn a valuable lesson, wearing its heart on its sleeve of its morals and like
yeah,
it's cliche all the way through. And I think it knows it.
yeah, and it totally embraces it. And but like it's one of those things where it knows what it's doing. It knows like that it's going down that cliche road, but it still chooses to just do it almost better than anything, any other movie that I've seen do it. Like there is real heart to the dynamic between the father and the daughter, and then like the mother trying to play that role of peacekeeping between the two of them, and then the younger brother feeling abandoned by his sister who's going off to college, and like all those relationships and all those dynamics are so heartfelt and so
Mhm.
lovely, and work so well on every level, but also and so funny too.
Really, really funny.
really funny.
I just like tiny caveat, like not everything lands. Like it goes so far, so often that it's okay if some of the moments you're not laughing at and you're like, that was dumb. But then like 4 seconds later, there's another clever idea that
Yeah.
is funny.
I think I bought into it really early on, and
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know if I don't know if anything missed for me.
Nothing.
The-
I mean,
I mean,
like
maybe,
this is such a
but
small nitpick. Like most of it didn't miss. It
yeah.
was,
Yeah,
and
I'm curious.
it's that Lord and Miller nonstop humor too.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
that was so prevalent in the Lego movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even in the dialogue. It's like there's unique jokes within cutaway shots of individual characters while other dialogue is on top of it that's also funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just constant and it doesn't stop. And there's always creative ideas. And
Yeah.
one thing with the humor is they also like aren't afraid. I guess this is more like meme culture stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not afraid to take it to up to 11 on some of the jokes.
Yeah.
Like they ramp it up so far and make it such a big, like hilarious, or like the Furby.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like that was so creative and so hilarious.
Yeah.
And they took it to just the most extreme.
Yeah.
Even to the point of like, even like when they finally like finish him off, I don't know, there's just so many jokes within that one moment.
Yeah.
The mom, when she goes like super
Yeah.
insane,
Super mom.
and then they just like keep coming back to like the blood and the stuff she says in her dialogue. Just like
yeah. Yeah, nonstop. Everything with the dog was great.
The dog is like the key to everything.
Yeah.
That's another thing the script does. Like, and all like again to a clichéness is that every single detail comes full circle, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, to the point, you know, like the screwdrivers are like,
yeah, the screwdriver, the little moose is like just that little moose that starts out as just something nice and kind of cute. Like, yeah, it comes full circle, and it's such an important character moment by the end. Yeah, and then obviously the dog.
John, the dog's cross-eyedness. Oh my God, I can't believe what they ended up doing with that. And when that moment happened at the end in slow motion, its little twitchy right eye was like going back towards center.
Oh my God. That's more like in spoilers. Maybe we should talk about those moments.
Yeah, I guess we're just spoiling jokes at this point.
I mean, we didn't say anything, but
okay, yeah, we gave good synopsis of what we think.
There's
Let's
also
move on.
Yeah, well, one more thing I wanted to say is like its concept about technology also doesn't fall flat. I think there's the whole just the concept isn't a totally throwaway concept cliche, I guess. They even take that a step further and make that even more interesting than it needed to be. And there's some interesting stuff. I loved the casting of this movie too, like Abby Jacobs as I think that's her name. Abby.
And was she just in Barb and Star? Was she that?
No, Abby from Broad City.
Oh, her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Abby Jacob. Yeah,
Okay.
Abby Jacobson from Broad City is Katie, the main character. Maya Rudolph.
Oh, wait, who's the mom?
The mom is Maya Rudolph. She's the SNL lady, Bridesmaids.
Barb and Star.
No, I don't. Is she in Barb? She might play a small role in Barb and Star that I'm immediately forgetting.
Oh no, she's in Bridesmaids, not Barb and Star.
Yeah,
no, I think I'm
Bridesmaids. She's also in. She's like the judge in The Good Place.
Okay, yeah.
She's in.
She's great.
She's in it. Yeah, she's great. She's absolutely hilarious. Olivia Colman was absolutely fantastic as the voice of the AI pal.
Okay,
and she's just really good always.
I want to talk about. Yeah. Do you have more cast?
I mean, it's such a big cast. It's like John Legend is in it. Fred Armisen, Eric Andre, Conan O'Brien's even in the movie. yeah.
Did you recognize his voice when it happened? I didn't catch it.
No, actually, I didn't recognize his voice until I looked at the cast afterwards.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah.
I want to mention the length of the film and the way it like structures its like peaks and valleys of it. Like I think it's so well laid out in what it does. Like it actually has a really long opening establishing section. It's like maybe a half hour goes by before anything of the post-apocalypse comes into this film. I think a much lesser movie would have cut out 20 minutes, and it would have cut out a majority of those 20 minutes from that opening half hour. And it would have gotten into like the second act within the first 10, 15 minutes instead of 30. And I think it relied a lot on that like intro dynamic of all the characters and who like our main like character was. And it really built it up extremely well in the first half hour. It was like a very interesting movie in its own right without the post-apocalyptic stuff.
Yeah.
I was totally on board.
Yeah,
for what
definitely.
It was already
and it's about a young girl who wants to be a filmmaker and go off to film school. Kind of got to me a little bit. That was pretty good. That was pretty great. And
it's
all
got
the,
like
all the little.
It's got these like small climaxes throughout of their objectives are super clear, and this needs to go into spoilers. I'll hold off.
Yeah. Let's you totally agree though. Like it's so well thought out. Like we've said that a few times. Like the whole story arc and all the plans, and I think that also comes back to the visual style, the way that they are able to lay out the details of their plans visually because of the visual style that they went for with the movie. It's all around super creative, really fun, just an absolute blast. I can't wait for like my niece and nephew and sister-in-law to see it,
just to show people.
Yeah. It's just super fun. I even just recommended it to people at work today. Highly recommend it.
Spoiler section?
Yeah, let's jump into spoilers.
Okay. Spoilers. Don't watch the next part of this show if you have not seen the movie. So here we go. Let's dig into it. I loved the fact that they were like, we're going to go to the mall. We're going to solve this problem right here and there. And in my head, I was like, there's got to be more to this. But like, they go to the mall. There's this awesome, huge, like midsection peak of the movie, like an hour and 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's hilarious. And it like ends perfectly tragic for everyone involved. And then you already know the next step that they have to go to, which is going to be even more deathly and challenging. And obviously they make great jokes about that too. But it's like, it's really clever, like how big of a moment they put in the middle of the movie and then gave you just like another thing to look forward to. Which I think lesser movies, like it kind of reminded me of a Christopher Nolan film in that way, where like they have this like explosive middle, which just works so well. He always puts those in his films. It's there's not one climax, there's multiple. And even as it builds up to its final climax, like there was still like 30 minutes of the movie left by the time they got there. And it just was this massive action sequence that went on for so long in a great way. Multiple things happening within that ending of like the parents everyone getting split apart, like everyone's off on their own, still trying to solve the problem. Like many different key things had to step up their game at the ending for it to work. Like the dog, the cell phone,
the mom,
the screwdriver, the mom going crazy because of her child. Like it was just,
and then the dad having to log on to YouTube.
It's just like so many steps.
That was his story. That was his big hurdle that he had to climb. He had to log on to YouTube.
And it was so mind-blowing to the robots that people could change, that maybe they could change too.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, and the two robots that, their whole character arc was just so lovely. And they were absolutely hilarious. And even like what the mom had to do, and let's talk about. Should we talk about that dog scene? I mean, there's so many great jokes with the dog, but
the cross eyes, and so one to find all it has to do in the whole movie, and like the two double images of the phone coming together.
And
that was great.
It still just hits him in the face.
Yeah, still it's in the face, but still goes into a different pool of water that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
So good.
And yeah. Oh God. I'm getting too excited about this movie.
It was really fucking good film.
Yeah, just and then the concept of that they established really early on of dog, pig, dog.
Oh, right.
Loaf of bread.
Yeah, the dog is just like so weird and hideous that it can't even understand what species or what inanimate object it possibly could be.
And then how that is so important in the end that like they just...
Oh yeah, because she ties it to the front of the... and then she tries the front of her car just to get in. Yeah.
And that joke...
and then it ends everything.
That's
the dad puts it up on the big screen. It's what ends everything.
Yeah.
Is that...
I mean, not quite, because the those other like more pixelated ones are still alive, but
and that's that like layering of like major issue, how to solve it, another issue, how to solve it, and it just like keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah, with well-established solutions to every problem that come back full circle. And that I was just going to mention one more thing about that joke. They made that joke, the dog pig loaf of bread joke 80 times in the movie, and it worked every time. I cracked up every time they made that joke without failure.
Did you watch this with Kelly?
No, I didn't.
All right, good excuse to rewatch it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm for sure going to rewatch it.
You were talking about the animation earlier, and the like sci-fi animation of the film was incredible. Like the stuff with the robots and this like secret lair and the like sky base floating out, like it really reminded me of those like modern like CGI renderings of like what's the popular one of Beeple that sold the NFTs recently. It's just like everything is super centered, and it's just like all these neon like radiating lights from it, and like it's just like this perfect portrait. And they would like return to that aesthetic throughout the like the massive apocalyptic ending. It was just it also really reminded me of the like Large Hadron Collider and Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, for sure.
How they're willing to push the visuals to that like extra beauty.
Yeah, like the abstraction becomes the set. I don't know. The abstract visuals are just now the world that they are operating in. And like they even made the joke, it's like a Journey album cover. Or something.
I missed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, beautiful
absolutely.
animation.
And then like things like the way that the robots moved and operated was really good and looked so good. And like especially first of all, just the
bigger robots.
Yeah, first of all, the normal robots, they had their own like really great creative look and way that they moved, and like their gravity gun thing was really cool. But then like those polygon crazy upgraded ones in the end were so cool,
like teleporting their individual pieces of their body in and out, but like they would appear in a unique way and formation. And like
so many great creative visual elements.
I feel like it's just time and like money, or maybe just allowing an animation studio to like do stuff like that. Like I mean, Pixar has its own aesthetic going, but like everyone's copying Pixar, like DreamWorks copying Pixar, and
Disney,
all these other like even Lord and Miller's first movie, Cloudy and Chance of Meatballs, is copying Pixar.
Yeah,
but they're at this point where like they can get away with allowing a studio to like express their like visual art in a way that no other films are doing.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's
I mean, you'd have
amazing.
to go. I would give credit to like Japanese anime is doing a lot
Hmm.
of really cool stuff. But this really is its own completely different thing. And yeah, it's Sony Animation Pictures or Sony Animation
This
Studios.
is the
It's
new
just like
Sony animation
yeah,
studio.
it's freaking
Wow.
awesome. And they yeah, and I guess Lord, it wasn't Sony, but it was Warner Brothers, wasn't it? Lego Movie. It all kind of started with the Lego Movie, which I believe was Warner Brothers.
Which had a
Um,
lot of unique visuals as
but
well
yeah,
for
like
what it
took
was.
that chance on, yeah, super creative visuals there, and then Sony decided to just run with it, and I really hope they keep going. And I know there's going to be another Spider-Man movie, which I'm sure is going to
If
be.
Sony did this for another decade and a half and built up a slate of movies like this that are
Mhm.
trying this hard, like they win.
Yeah, I hope so.
They win the animation battle.
I really hope they keep going with this, and people start to recognize. I mean, obviously, Spider-Man got a ton of recognition, made a ton of money. This one, I believe, I actually just looked it up today. It cost between somewhere between. It's a big difference, 50 million and 100 million, somewhere in there. I don't know what the why there's such a big discrepancy, but they sold it for $125 million to Netflix, which is
Holy
crazy.
fuck.
Um, and I don't know what it
Wow.
would have made in theaters. I would hope that it would at least make that. But if not,
Animated movies can easily make that.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So, on one hand, that's a huge amount of money for Netflix to just buy this movie for. Um, on the other hand, I do think it could have made a lot more money.
Yeah.
Um,
And it
and
was
I
probably
hope it would.
that quarantine
Yeah,
gamble. Do
yeah,
we
for
want to sit
sure.
on this for another year or just let Netflix have it and still make a profit?
Yeah, and they do, and yeah. So I believe China, they still are going to distribute it in China, so they're going to collect more money
That'll
from
just all be
China.
profit at that point.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I really hope they're able to keep going with that style. And I mean, this movie's already #1 on Netflix, so it seems like it's having a big splash right now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, back to the movie.
That's or not,
Yeah,
because maybe it's been a while.
there was one thing I wanted to point
Go for it.
out is I mentioned it earlier, the concept of the kind of the message about technology that the movie kind of went for. I
Yeah.
really liked Pal's speech monologue, which Olivia Colman's monologue about how we, you know, she gives us, the technology gives us all these incredible things. Like she goes over everything that technology is doing for us, information at our fingertips. We can,
Yep.
we can talk to anyone anytime we want, yet we just waste it. And then we blame the technology for, we blame the technology for us fucking it up and ruining it. And,
Hmm.
I just loved that message, that whole monologue. I was just like, jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it was like that monologue was just in this kids movie. Thought it was,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
so
kind of it
clever.
kind of starts as like the big brain like uh internet, like put your phone down and just see the world kind of
Uh,
thing that's all cringy,
yeah,
but it definitely like it has deeper insight than that it
yeah,
slowly morphs into, and I was really
definitely.
happy about that because at the start I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
um I think it's following that scene is the great joke of like doing to the tech CEO like what people
Oh
do to
yeah,
their phones
yeah,
and
like
just like
rubbing
wiping
nacho
nachos
cheese
on
on
his
their
face.
face and
And then she
poke,
ends
poke,
with
poke,
like
poke, poke.
you wrote the code on my face for my
Yeah,
replacement, and you're
yeah,
just like, oh god.
yeah. It was so good. Um, yeah, I loved that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. We could go on and on about every 5 seconds of this film, what clever shit it does, but see it for yourself.
For
It's a
sure.
great film. And I'm glad we made the switch from Supernova to
Definitely.
the Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yep.
All right. So coming up the following weeks on our schedule, obviously possibly subject to change, but what we got is Nick and Derek doing Shiva Baby next Tuesday. Possibly Shaun and Nick doing Those Who Wish Me Dead. And lastly, for the month, Derek and Shaun, or me, will do Army of the Dead. But we'll figure it out as we get further through the month. And stay tuned every week here, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Thanks, Shaun.
Yep.
Later, guys.
Good to see you. Talk to you. All right. Bye.